Hey folks, this is a real big journey. We're heading all the way from North Wales here, right up to the Cairngorm mountains in Scotland. And it's not just two of us this time. We've got a passenger. So this should be a really exciting trip. It's probably the most ambitious one we've done yet. Somebody's just beeped. It's not at me because we're parked up. We're heading off now. I think it's about 5:45. We're not due to get, well, we might not even get there, depends how tired I get. But there should be some really cool birds up there, some really good rare but Scottish birds like Scottish crossbill, crested tit. I'd love to see a capercaillie, but I think it's unlikely.
And it was the most popular vote as well.
And it was the most popular vote when we put it up on our last trip. So stick with us for this one, it should be epic.
We set out on our journey for the 6.5 hour drive up to Aviary. With toilet and food stops, we got there around 2 AM and then went straight to bed. Good morning folks, it's about 8:15 in the morning. It's a bit later than we usually get up. We didn't get here until nearly 2 o'clock in the morning, hence the slightly later rise. We're in between Aviary and Garten somewhere. We just found a lay-by, we just kind of gave up driving as we were absolutely exhausted. But it's a very foggy morning. There's not much to see yet, so we're going to wait until everybody gets up and have some breakfast and then head out to do some birding. So keep with us. Hello. Mozzarella ball? I'll have a mozzarella ball. Morning. Whilst we set about eating breakfast, the fog cleared to give us these wonderful views. Once we'd finished breakfast, we set off towards Loch Garten RSPB. Hey folks, we're here at RSPB Loch Garten, heading towards the visitor centre. We're pointed in the direction by some friendly members of staff who stamped us.
That's a new one.
It's a new one. So we're going to check out if we can see the osprey nests, because there's screens and whatever with the ospreys on, and also potentially a goshawk nest. And then later on I'm going to go for a walk. They pointed out where I might maybe see crested tits, so stick with us, should be cool. As we walked towards the visitors centre, there were many feeders up. On this feeder, a young great spotted woodpecker. And at the other feeders there were lots of smaller birds, including on this feeder a siskin and a young coaltip. When we got to the visitor centre there were a couple of screens up, one showing a goshawk nest and one showing an osprey nest. I did take a video out the window at the distant osprey nest. There was quite a lot of heat haze, but you can see the birds. After posing for a photograph with Olivia, we set about trying to find crested tit, one of my target birds. And sooner or later, eagle-eyed Kaylee spotted one. I tried to get a photo. It's certainly not going to get any awards because the bird's very blurred, but you can tell what it is. And it's a lifer. Following the excitement of this, we walked down the path and saw this very confiding tree creeper climbing up the tree very close to us. It looked like a little mouse. We then stopped briefly at a spot where there was a feeder, and I got some photographs like this one of this female chaffinch and this siskin. We then walked to the loch where Kaylee and Olivia played in the water for a little bit. Then we decided to move on to Mount Cairngorm. Hey folks, we're here at Cairngorm Mountain Railway. I'm getting kicked by Olivia. I'm going to step forward. We've been to Loch Garten. We've seen some cool stuff like decent views of tree creeper, ospreys. Some of the bird feeders were pretty active with siskin and chaffinch and such. We did get a very brief view of a crested tit. So we're going to get a train, like a cable train type thing, up Mount Cairngorm now. I'm not sure if we'll see any birds, but it should be exciting anyway. So stick with us. We decided to take the funicular, which is like a cable train, up Mount Cairngorm. En route, seeing some amazing scenery and these reindeer. The train goes most of the way to the summit, to the Ptarmigan restaurant, which is the highest restaurant in the UK. Cairngorm is the 6th highest mountain in the British Isles. The views were spectacular. After a bite to eat and a wander around, we headed back on the train, which was a little bit frightening for some of us. With the excitement of the railway journey back, I almost missed a lovely ringoozle that flew across in front of the tracks. Unfortunately, I didn't get any footage of this, but it's a beautiful bird, a bit like a blackbird with a white collar. You okay, babe?
Yeah, I'm okay now.
Once back down, we headed back towards Garten for an hour.
Hello folks, so when we got back from Mount Cairngorm, where the two young ladies here went for a paddle.
Got really wet.
Got really wet in Loch Garten. I went for another walk just to see if I could find the crested tits to get some better footage, which I didn't. It's really, really quiet. So I'm going to head now up to a loch that I can't remember the name of. It's up a bit north towards Inverness. I'll put it on the screen in a minute.
H something.
It's Wrath something. Anyway,
Insert.
insert that. Yeah, apparently there may be Slovenian grebes there, which is super. So we're going to head there and then tomorrow take a trip round Loch Ness and do some more exciting stuff. So, see you soon.
On the recommendation of one of the staff at Loch Garten, we headed to RSPB Ruthven. Hey folks, we've arrived at Loch Ruthven Nature Reserve. Trying to see some Slovenian grebes. Unfortunately, the car park's closed. So we're going to park up somewhere, have some food. It's reasonably late now anyway, it's starting dark soon. So we're going to give it another go in the morning and then head to Loch Ness and over to the other side of Scotland. Stick with us, see you in the morning. As the car park was closed, we parked up nearby, had some dinner, watching some deer. Then we called it a night. Hey folks, I'm back out this morning, got up early, left the girlies in bed, heading back to the Loch to see if I can get an early sighting of a Slovenian grebe. I was expecting to see some views last night, but obviously the car park was closed, so we'd settled down. Stick with me, see what I can find, and I'm going to wake the girls up, get some breakfast. I walked on the little footpath past a little beach where I saw these mallard up to the Hyde, which is looking over a little bit of marsh on the loch. Looking out, the first bird I saw was this fishing grey heron, but soon a little shape came out of the reeds into the loch, which was a Slovenian grebe. It looked like an adult that was potentially in molt, but was amazing to see. Whilst looking at the grebe, a family of goosander swam past, a female with a whole bunch of babies. Folks, success. I got a sighting, although being at quite a distance, of a Slovenian grebe. Just some other cool stuff as well, including a lovely family of goosander that were on the lake, a mother and a lot of chicks, a fishing heron, and a few other little bits and bobs. Whilst walking back to the car, I saw plenty of meadow pipits and a number of swallows with youngsters. These swallows were feeding on the flies around the loch and then coming down to perch on a wire fence that was near where we parked our van. But now it was time to move on a little bit north. We've gone from our overnight destination up about 45 minutes north to Loch Kinellen, where we've been told we might get some more views of Slovenian grebes, so maybe. We'll have a look round. We haven't seen any yet, but it's a very pretty place, like most places in Scotland.
Loch Ness is quite small with a Korean War memorial. As we walked round we saw this reed bunting and some coots. Before long another Slovenian grebe popped into sight. Again it looked like an adult that was partially in molt, but this time a little bit closer than the grebes at RSPB Ruthven.
Where are we going?
We are heading towards Loch Ness to see if we can find Nessie. We've just been and seen another Slovenian grebe, that's the second today, which is Ace, and now we need to find the monster. Let's do it.
We took a short drive towards Loch Ness.
Hey folks, we're at Loch Ness. Hey, it's a bit windy, a little bit cold.
It's amazing.
But it's amazing. It's absolutely enormous. We haven't seen Nessie yet, but there's only a matter of time. Do we count that as a lifer if we see Nessie? Yeah, okay, fair enough. There we go. Cool. The next thing we're going to do is even cooler, maybe. We're heading all the way to the other side of Scotland. We're going to Oban, and then going to, hopefully, all being well later on, cross over to Mull.
Where are you going then? Where are you going?
We're going to go to Tobermory. See you in a bit.
The next part of the journey was long, about 2.5 hours, from Inverness on the east coast of Scotland to Oban on the west coast of Scotland, where we had a ferry booked.
Hey folks, we're in Oban.
When in Oban we had an hour or so to wait until our ferry, so we wandered round trying to find some food. Last time we were there we found a lovely seafood stall, but they were sold out of everything, so we ended up at a chip shop.
Hey, we're sat in Oban eating haggis and chips. How Scottish are we?
Following our food we headed back to the car to wait for our ferry, noticing on the way the abundance of hooded crows. Throughout most of the UK the crows are carrion crows, which are completely black. These hooded crows are partly grey, they look like they have a grey waistcoat on.
Hey, we're sat waiting for our ferry in much better weather than last time we did this.
Which is good.
Which is great. Last time it was dark and rainy, and this time it's nice and sunny and really quite warm. So I'm hoping the crossing isn't too choppy. She's having a coughing fit.
The ferry set off through pretty calm waters as the weather was really nice this time. Last time we were open we saw a lot of black guillemots, some on the beach. This time I only saw a few on the sea. I'm not sure the reason for this, maybe it's time of year or maybe even avian flu. Feel free to comment if you know the reason. When we reached dry land, we drove for about 20 minutes to our overnight spot.
Hey folks, we're in quite attractive jazzy snuddies because we've got the door open and it's pretty cool. It's just about to get dark. We are now in Mull. It's absolutely beautiful outside. Check out the scenery. We're gonna chill out now for the night, and to chill out probably definitely be cold. And we'll see you in the morning.
Bye.
Night night. The next morning I woke up to some pretty stunning scenery on the side of this loch. I went for a walk to see what birds were about.
Morning folks, I think it's about 7:30 in the morning and I'm in the beautiful and stunning Mull. The girls are still, I don't know if they're asleep or just getting ready. I went out a little bit early to see if I could see any birdies. I've seen some of the normal stuff like hooded crows, common gulls and oyster catchers, but I'm looking forward to having a drive around the island today to see if I can find any other cool stuff. So join us for that, it should be really cool.
As well as the very common oyster catchers, there was curlews, also these distant common sandpipers running up and down. The most numerous gull here was the common gull. This is unusual because most other places in the UK, the black-headed gull are more numerous. On the way back to the car, there was a very vocal whitethroat. One thing I did notice, I was always being watched. Other birds near the camp were this young dunnock. and this very posy song thrush. While stood outside the van, there was another camper where there was a gentleman looking at a white-tailed eagle that was perched in a tree. First of all, there was an adult and a young. The adult flew, and then we found where the adult had landed on the top of a small tree. These birds were in the distance, so not close shots, but always amazing to see. These birds were extinct for a while in the UK and then reintroduced, and seem to be doing pretty well. After breakfast, we set about driving around the island to see what else we could find. The first birds we saw was this group of roosting goosander, all female birds. A little further along, we saw this family of grey-lag geese. There were some adults with a couple of older goslings feeding in some grass. And of course, the ever-common oyster catcher. Driving further along the single-track roads, we passed this family of Canada geese and then saw a shape in the water we didn't recognise. We scanned the loch and soon an otter came into sight. These are animals that are not common in the UK, and Mull is a bit of a stronghold for them. We didn't see them last time, so we were super happy to see them this time fishing. Also, while we were looking at the otters, we had brilliant views of this rock pipit that was feeding by our feet. Mull is a great place for birds of prey, and we saw this buzzard and another white-tailed eagle which flew directly over the car, and I just got video of the back end of it as it flew away from us. These birds are nicknamed the Flying Barn Door because of their size. After watching this big grey seal resting on the rocks, we drove further round the road, admiring not only the animals but the breathtaking scenery. Soon we stopped momentarily to photograph this wheatear that was sat on a rock, and then we carried on driving round the island, this time heading in the direction of Tobermory. We passed this grey heron fishing and then drove past by this breathtaking white beach. Carrying on to the biggest town in Mull.
Hey folks, after a pretty good drive around Mull looking for birds, and we saw plenty, including some white-tailed eagles, we've decided to stop at Tobermory before we get our ferry back. I've lost the other two though. I'll have to see if we can find them.
Here in the UK there was a child's television programme called Balamory. This programme was based on Tobermory, so hence Olivia was very excited to see it. After eating some food, we headed towards our ferry, and after a short wait in a queue, our ferry arrived and we were promptly loaded on for our return journey back to Oban.
Hey folks, we're back on a boat. We've had a day.
Yay. My favourite thing.
Yeah. We've had a great day in Mull, driving around, seeing loads of birds and stuff, and otters, and Tobermory and all sorts. So heading back to the mainland now. When we get there, we're going to drive a bit down south and then get as far as we can and then head to bed. So we will see you probably in the morning. Stick with us.
It was even calmer on the sea this time, which was great for me because I often get seasick. Off the boat we saw a few birds, most of which I couldn't photograph, like Manx shearwater. I got this little video of a gannet and then some black guillemot as we came into Oban. Upon reaching land, we drove for a couple of hours south and found an overnight destination near Moffat.
Hey folks, good morning. We're on our return journey slowly. Last night when we got back to Oban, we drove for a few hours south, so it made it a little bit easier today. We are just north of Moffat, so in South Scotland. We found like a off-road kind of lay-by, which is quite pretty. So it's quite late because we had to lie in. We didn't get until about kind of after 1 in the morning.
so it must be, I don't know, it's about 9:30 now. We're gonna head south, hopefully get a stop on the way to look for some more birds before we get home. So join us today and see what we can find. We drove for about 2 hours to RSPB Leighton Moss.
Hey folks, we've stopped on our way back home at RSPB Leighton Moss, which is a great reserve. We're going to have a look around it now, see if we can get some last birds from our trip. Stick with us.
Near the visitors centre there was a few feeders where we saw this collared dove preening and roosting, and feeding underneath the feeders was this mallard. A little bit further round the path there was a buddleia plant. These usually attract insects like bees and many species of butterfly. We wandered round to the next hide and looked out on a piece of water. Immediately there was numerous mute swans. Across on an island in front of us there was a great black-backed gull, which is not only the biggest gull in the UK but the biggest gull in the world. This gull was soon joined by a cormorant which came out of the water to dry off. Soon one of the other birders that were in the hide shouted hobby. The hobby is a small bird of prey in the UK that hunts for dragonflies. There was one sat in a tree on the opposite side of the water. It's at quite a distance, so quite hard to pick out on the top of one of the dead trees in this video. Look out for red legs. Other birds on the water included a few coot and our most common duck, the mallard. We left this hide and took a walk past the huge reed beds here at Leighton Moss to one of the other hides, where we looked over and saw black-headed gull, and there was also some ducks like this shoveler, which is in eclipse, and also this moorhen that was noisily going about its business.
Hey folks, that was a reasonably successful trip to Leighton Moss. We had a distant view of a hobby, which I've got a little bit of video footage of, and a distant view of a marsh harrier, which is going to join all the distant views of birds of prey I've had this weekend. But it was really nice to have a walk and a stretch of our legs before we head home.
After seeing this distant marsh harrier and also these great white egrets, and having another view of a marsh harrier flying close to the hide, we headed past the Sky Tower, which is a tall viewing platform, back to the car.
Hey folks, so we're leaving Leighton Moss now and we are heading home after a few pretty full days.
Oh yeah.
We're all pretty frazzled, but we've done quite a lot of birding, we've seen an awful lot of stuff, so it was well worth the miles.
Scotland gives a lot. It is an amazing country with some breathtaking scenery and some amazing wildlife.
See you next time. Please like,
Please subscribe.
Hit the notification button.
see you soon.